Hi, I'm Kenton Biffert, and welcome to the Art of Fatherhood. Today we're looking at leaving a legacy for your children. Have you ever thought of that? What am I going to leave behind for my children? What is going to immortalize me, so to speak? What skills will I be leaving behind to my children? What kind of foundation and faith and knowledge? What am I leaving behind with my children when I pass? That's what we're looking at today. But before we even go into some ideas on how to do this, we should probably ask the question, why would it even be important? Why can't I just live this life totally for myself, amass as much wealth and entertainment and experience and pleasure for me? Why would I even think about leaving it for my children? I'm sure I don't need to answer the question, but I will, because it's not about you. When you're a father, your life changes and it becomes about your children. It becomes a life of sacrifice. And that sacrificial life, of course, is absolutely fulfilling. And so part of this being a father or being a mother is thinking ahead, what can I leave behind for my children? So I've broken this up into three areas: material, memorial, and spiritual. The first one is really obvious. As we grow older and work through life, we gather materials and wealth and a home and a house, and we leave all that to our children. We can even go beyond that. My wife and I, we take out some long-term investments that we never plan on cashing in. We purchase them for the intention of being an inheritance for our children. You can do that with precious metals. You can even take out life insurance plans on your children, so when they get older, they already have life insurance. This type of material wealth, I think that goes without saying, is something that we leave behind for our children. But what about something that's a little bit more memorial? Something that connects you from beyond the grave to your child that is still living. Now this gets a little bit more intimate, I think, and still maybe even more important than the material wealth that there is. And so this is something that my wife and I have been very specific about. What are we going to leave behind for our children? I can encompass it all in one word, truly. That word is story. Our family journey is a story. So one thing that we've been doing, I have it with me here, is for years, ever since, even before we were married, is putting together photo albums. As technology improved, we started making photo books online, and we put the book together. We are constantly photographing our family story, our family journey, which many people do. But when you actually bring all those photos together and make it a story for your children, and this is what we wanted to do. We wanted our children, even now, but as we grow older and then we pass, to have this whole shelf of books that tell our story in pictures and memories of the life that we journeyed through together. Another way that we can do this is simply through telling our stories. Now, we often sit around at the supper table and the children say, "Tell us stories, tell us about when I was a baby. What did I do when you were a kid? How did you guys get to meet? Tell us about when you got married or when you got engaged, and tell us a funny story about yourself." And so over and over and over again, we repeat the stories of our lives and tell the stories and tell the stories. And these stories will become memorialized. They will be handed down to their children when their children ask about their grandma and grandpa and their children's children. So part of this legacy of connecting with our children from beyond the grave is through our story. There are other items, though, that are a bit more tangible. Some items that have a real special significance to us, that connect us to our children. I have a couple examples here. We love books in our family, and so here's a book my wife has. It's called The Catholic Girl's Guide. It's an original edition. The pages are falling out. It's a very old book, but it's a beautiful little book, and it'll be something that she hands down to our oldest daughter when she passes. I have here my very first straight razor. Was given to me as a gift, and this will be something that I hand down to my firstborn son when he begins to shave, or maybe later, I don't know yet, but something that is special, that has been a part of me and my life that I want to hand down to him. things like sacramentals, maybe a rosary that has journeyed with you through many occasions and experiences and through the years. These types of items, right, we hand down as a legacy to our children. There's something else that we do, which I think is really powerful, or will be quite powerful. On the children's birthday, we write them a letter. And the children don't know this, so hopefully they don't see this video. But we write them a letter, and we will collect these letters over the years. Sometimes we go beyond just their birthday, and we'll write them letters at Christmas and so forth. But the point is that when we die, they're going to have a whole stack of letters that we will have written them throughout their life, at least a minimum of one a year, that they can read and hear about their own journey as they grew up and their relationship with us and how much we love them. And that'll be something that we give to them when we pass on. As well, I'm a bit of a nerd. Since I was in grade 10, I've been writing in journals every single day of my life. And so this, even though these are personal journals and they encompass my journey, my children are intimately connected with that journey. And so these journals, which tell of much of my life, will be theirs as well. Again, one more connection that speaks to them beyond the grave, that keeps our family together somehow. There's other ways too, though. We also have skills that we develop and we hand over to our children to go along with our story. And all this stuff is really important. So we have the material wealth that we gain and we hand to our children. We have this memorabilia, these things that connect our children. And as well, and probably the most important, is we have the spiritual. What are we giving our children, or what are we leaving our children spiritually? We want to leave our children such a strong foundation in the Catholic faith that they remain always faithful. And I'm dead serious about that. There's no reason that our children should lapse in the faith or carry through chasing other fantasies or other errant beliefs. I want to give them such a foundation that they remain always faithful. This is my prayer. And so how am I going to do that? Even beyond the grave, what can I leave them so that they remain faithful to the truth? So I think there's a few things we can do. One is teaching them to think critically. The Catholic faith is the true faith that can endure a violent attack. For year after year, for 2,000 years it can be attacked, and that truth will still stand. And that's one way you can know it's the truth, when it doesn't fall. After 2,000 years of being attacked and railed against, the truth stands. So if we can teach our kids to think critically and not just accept with a blank mind everything that we give them, but to question their faith and question, is this truth? Is this truth, Dad? How can you teach me this? Is this truth? And begin to think through logically, I think there's a chance that they'll remain faithful. As well, teaching them to pray. Developing a culture of prayer in our family so that prayer becomes a part of their everyday life, this connecting with their Maker and their God. Fourthly, in leaving them a spiritual legacy, we want to teach them history, knowledge. Now, maybe that doesn't sound so spiritual, but is it Jack London who says that a man without a past is a man whose grave is imminent? A man whose in the future his future is death because he doesn't know his past. We want to teach our children the rich history that they are a part of in this world, in the Catholic faith, and with our family. And number 5, we want to teach them, or we want to leave them, traditions. Now tradition in the family is not only an occasion for celebration and remembrance and worship, but it's also an act that encultures the faith into your life. The faith becomes something that is loved and known to something that is lived. And tradition does that within a family. So we have a whole schedule of traditions throughout the year that we practice year after year, that we celebrate things in a certain way. And these, I believe, will be carried on in their lives and in their children's lives and in our grandchildren's lives, enculturing the faith into their actual living day to day. And finally, if I want to leave a spiritual legacy, what I'd really love to be able to do is force them to love God, to love their Maker and love their church, but I can't do that. That's one thing I cannot give them and leave behind. So all I can do is simply model it.